You weren't passed over because you weren't good enough. You were passed over because you were waiting to be chosen. And the invisible law of human nature is this: the people who wait to be chosen are never the ones who get selected. They're the ones who get managed. You've spent years doing everything right, showing up, putting in the work, making yourself visible to the right people. But here's what nobody tells you. The waiting itself was communicating something. Something that made every room, every opportunity, every person with the power to choose you quietly move on. And that's good news, because it means nothing was wrong with your ability. Everything was wrong with your position. The moment you stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself, the dynamic inverts completely. The person who chooses themselves cannot be controlled by the person who was supposed to choose them. Here are 5 brutal truths about what happens the day you stop waiting to be chosen. Truth 1. Being chosen feels like the goal, but it was always the trap. You built your entire strategy around being selected. You positioned yourself carefully, showed the right people the right things at the right time. You made yourself easy to choose, agreeable, available, impressive enough to notice, but not threatening enough to intimidate. And sometimes it worked. Sometimes someone chose you. And for a moment, everything felt validated. Then the moment passed, and you were back to waiting for the next person to choose you again. Every time you organized your life around being chosen, you handed the most important decision about your future to someone who wasn't thinking about your future at all. They were thinking about theirs. The person whose progress depends on being chosen has quietly made someone else the author of their life. Which means every room you entered hoping to be selected was a room where you had already placed yourself below the person you were hoping would notice you. Truth 2. The people who were supposed to choose you were never fully paying attention. Here's the realization that changes everything. The mentor who never responded. The opportunity that went to someone else. The room that looked past you. You assumed it was a verdict, a judgment about your worth, your readiness, your potential. You carried it, replayed it, let it quietly edit how you saw yourself. But here's the invisible law underneath what actually happened. They weren't deciding your worth. They were deciding what deserved their attention that day. And in a world where everyone is managing their own uncertainty, their own timelines, their own quiet fears, that decision was made in seconds, based on whatever was loudest in their life that morning. You thought they judged you. Most of them never even reached that stage. The boss who didn't promote you was managing his own anxiety about the quarter. The room that moved past you was already thinking about the next thing before you finished speaking. The mentor who never replied had 17 other conversations they were also not replying to. The people you were waiting on to choose you were never fully present enough to see you clearly, because no one carries the weight you placed on their attention without it crushing them. Which means the verdict you've been carrying was never actually delivered. You mistook their distraction for a decision, and then you built a story around it. Truth 3. The waiting was protecting you from something you didn't want to name. This is the truth most people never reach. You told yourself you were waiting for the right opportunity, the right timing, the right person to finally open the right door. But underneath that story was something quieter and more uncomfortable. As long as you were waiting to be chosen, you couldn't be blamed for not being further along. Waiting is safe. Waiting keeps failure theoretical. Because if you choose yourself, if you move without permission, build without approval, declare yourself ready before anyone else does, and it doesn't work, there's nobody else to point to. The waiting wasn't patience, it was insurance. The decision to keep waiting is never about readiness. It's about maintaining a story where someone else is responsible for what hasn't happened yet. Imagine removing that story entirely. Imagine waking up and the question isn't, who will choose me today? It's, what will I build today? Imagine the relief of that, not the pressure of it. The relief. The specific freedom of a person who has stopped handing the pen to someone else. That's what choosing yourself actually feels like. Not louder, just yours. Truth 4. The world responds differently to people who have already chosen themselves. Here is the invisible law nobody explains. When you were waiting to be chosen, every interaction carried a subtle weight, a slight undercurrent of need that people felt before you said a word. You weren't asking out loud, but the ask was there, in how carefully you presented yourself, in how attentively you watched for reactions, in how much the outcome of the interaction mattered to your next move. People felt it, and need, however quiet, however reasonable, changes how people respond to you. It makes them careful, guarded, slightly less willing to give you the thing you're visibly hoping for. Then, you chose yourself, and the need disappeared from the room before you arrived. The people who once assumed you'd always wait quietly begin paying attention. Not because you demanded it, because something changed in how you occupied space. And people who are still waiting instinctively notice someone who stopped. The moment you stop needing to be chosen, the people who once overlooked you suddenly become uncertain about where they stand with you. The dynamic didn't shift because you became more impressive. It shifted because you became less predictable. And unpredictable people cannot be managed by the simple act of withholding approval. Truth 5. Everything changes. Not because the world changed, because you finally stopped waiting for it to. The day you choose yourself doesn't announce itself. It doesn't feel like a breakthrough. It feels like a quiet decision made in an ordinary moment that nobody witnessed and nobody validated. And nothing external changes immediately. The same people, the same rooms, the same opportunities. But you move through them differently. You speak differently. You stop monitoring the reactions. You stop adjusting mid-sentence based on what the room seems to want. You finish your thought. You leave when you're ready to leave. You build the thing without asking if it's the right time to build it. Imagine waking up and the first thought isn't, will anyone see this today? Imagine finishing something and not reaching for your phone to share it. Imagine the work being enough, on its own, for you, regardless of who acknowledges it. That isn't arrogance. That isn't coldness. That is the rarest form of freedom. Most people spend their entire lives one decision away from and never reach. Choosing yourself doesn't change what's available to you. It changes what you're willing to accept, which changes everything that follows. The person who waited to be chosen was always one person's decision away from moving. The person who chose themselves is already moving, and the only question left is how far.